Hello and welcome to today's video as we cover the rookies from 2024 in the four major regions of Lol Esports. On the board, we have players that, in my opinion, how I determine a rookie threshold, these are players that did not play at least half of a regular season split previous to this season in Tier 1 of a major region. So there are three players on here who do have at least one game or more of Tier 1 experience, but never actually relinquished rookie, um, rookie designation. Out of these players, I would say up through Thanatos, maybe even Juice, are no longer rookies going into next year. Others, Frog, Zuan. The Antonio is no longer a rookie either, but Frog and Zuan next year, if they continue to play, would be considered rookie status. I have age on here. Experience includes all games previous to this split or, tier 2 games in this split. And it's, I think, a good way to look at things. Not only age, but let's look at how many games they got to develop before getting an opportunity at the tier 1 level. And I think, we have a wide range. We have some players with over 200 games of experience before this year, and then some players that had hardly any, maybe even only 10 games or so. Games played, all the games played tier 1 this year, KDA, where assists count as half, kill participation, CS per minute, return on investment, which is damage divided by gold, vision efficiency, which is vision score divided by wards placed, gold difference at 15 minutes, XP difference at 15 minutes. Keep in mind, LPL, we do not have stats from spring, so I did not include LPL stats at all for those because I did not want to manipulate them. And solo kills per game, LPL doesn't have those. Last number, which you might not be able to make out, that is win rate of the player. Because if we think about it, only a couple of these teams actually went to Worlds, where a couple of these players went to Worlds, and then only like half of them even made the playoffs to begin with. So, in the case of the most games played, Perfect of KT, 102 games played. 3 games Casting did play, but otherwise Perfect played them all for KT Rolster. He was 20 years old, had 59 games of experience, and 1 game of those 59 in the LCK last year. KDA, very standard, 1.9. Actually, I'm going to do this a little differently. I have it most to last, so I'm just going to give you who they are. Perfect from KT, Clear from FearX, so both LCK. Mirwin of Mad Lions Koi, LEC. Sniper of 100 Thieves in the LCS. Sheer of JDG in the LPL. Decade, Ultra Prime LPL. Miley, Nongshim Red Force LCK. Castle, Immortals LCS. Thanatos, C9 LCS. Juice, RNG LPL, Frog, DRX, LCK, the Antonio, Giants X of LEC, and Zuan of IG in the LPL. So those are the players. And then we're going to go through the categories. I think that'll just be a better way to do this. So age. Most of these players are 20 or 21 years old, but we have a couple that are not. Sniper, the youngest at 17, one of the youngest players in Lol Esports. And really, statistically, you look at his numbers, they're not that far off of the other players on this board. Like, CS per minute's a bit low. KP is a bit lower than most. I mean, he was losing lane, but what do you really expect? What do you really expect? Because he is 17 years old. Oh, he's hyped, this and that. That's because you have fans giving narratives of players and not actually looking at what the player is at this point in their career. It's just like, fans want to call players frauds because they are duped into thinking that a player is more than they are by other fans. It is and even some analysts probably get excited, try and exaggerate and things like that. And Sniper very well could be a great player. I'm not saying he can't be. He has a very bright future ahead of him. His statistics in Academy warrant that. But also, limit expectations because he's 17 years old. And look how much older all these other players are. Compare him to Thanatos. Yes, Thanatos at 17 was pretty good in challengers for Dom Kia. But also, He's 3 years older than Sniper right now. I expect him to beat him, especially when Thanatos had 236 games of experience and Sniper had, what, 41? 41 games of NACL Academy experience versus 230 games of CK experience. Who do you think actually wins that? Not to mention all the age and things like that coming into play, maturity, and just better team. Like, it's so foolish. People are so foolish and get so hyperbolic and exaggerate and then try and like just disparage these players, and it's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So ages: Sniper very young, Sheer 18 years old, barely any experience going into this year, and played excellent. Probably the best player on the board easily. I think he was better than Thanatos, especially when you take into account the experience part, like I just said about Sniper. Sheer only played 11 games of Demacia Cup before he jumped into the LPL season. So really, 2023, he didn't have LDL experience. They took him off of their tier 2 team or whatever. We don't even track stats down in those regions. Sorry, those tiers. And the Antonio, 25 years old. Like I said, that was, at the time, that was very much felt like fan service. A guy with a lot of backing, and I mean, hell, 25 years old. Like, that doesn't mean a 25-year-old can't be a rookie in League of Legends and do something, but we have to also temper our expectations. He had 321 games of ERL experience before he even hit Giants X roster this summer. Other high numbers: Castle 186, most of that in CK, if not all of it. Decade in the LPL before playing with Ultra Prime. He had 299 games of experience, 17 last year on LGD and Team Wii. I think he may have played a couple games for in 2023 as well. Mirwin had 125 before this year. Clear 212 before this year with I think DRX and others, and he played 18 games with DRX, if I recall. Games played, I mean, most 102 by Perfect, least 15 by Zuan. Zuan only played for some replacements, then YSCam came back in the lineup. KDA, Sheer with the best, 2.5. With JDG, that roster probably the best on the board alongside Cloud9 in terms of region relativity. I mean, Mad Lions Koi ends up getting to Worlds in our top 3, and Sniper with the 100 Thieves do as well, but at the same time, I mean, in terms of like dominance of their wins, I'm not surprised that their KDAs aren't as high as Sheer and Thanatos, both over 2. Lower end of things, Zuan 0.7. I mean, IG, we saw that tire fire with placements. I mean, they're starting a bunch of different rookies all over the place. I mean, what do you really expect? I'm not going to blame that kid for anything. We don't even know his age. Hell, he could be one of those situations. I mean, in the LPL, sometimes we have players that we don't really know how old they are. So that's always interesting. Decade, a 1 KDA with Ultra Prime. I mean, Ultra Prime stunk. We'll go over the win rates at the end. Kill participation, all over the place. Anything ranging from about 49% to 60%. Sniper 49, so more solo dolo, not fighting around his team. Makes sense. 17 years old, maybe not quite got the macro down to make things happen. 60% for Sheer. So at JDG, the opposite. They know, hey, let's get Sheer involved. Make something happen. Decade, 49% for Ultra Prime, 62% for Juice of RNG. I know he had some good weeks and statistically. The Antonio, 62%. Very experienced, knows where to be at the right time. So I'm not overly surprised, especially when you look at a 6.9 CS per minute. So, I mean, CS per minute's not the end of the world, but we can kind of say, okay, he's not getting a lot of resources, probably playing weak side, lane swap, etc., and he's more of a tanky facilitator player. That's why he's more involved. Zuan, that team was terrible, so 46% KP and a 6.6 CS per minute. So his farm wasn't great, and I mean his KP was very low. He was not involved in IG's successes. Thanatos, 8.2 CS per minute. Miley and Decade, both 8.3, so they did get resources. Clear, 8.3. Return on investment, a lot of 1.2s, 1.1s. Mirwin, though, of Mad Lions Koi, 1.49. We take into account all the crazy picks in top lane, 80 carries. I think the Varus, the Vayne, etc. So his return on investment is going to be very high. I mean, he was one of the most pure carry-oriented tops probably in the world this year. That's not to say he's one of the best, but one of the most pure. In that, really, I don't... as a rookie, he's not offering you weak side play, and I didn't expect him to when you look at his champion pool going into the season. Now, with 125 games of experience prior to this, you would look back and you say, oh, you'd hope that there was some weak side in there, but it was a lot of carry games that way too. So we kind of got to temper our expectations for Mirwin as well. Going into this year, he probably needs to round out his game. I think of Oscar in a way. Mirwin better than Oscar but in that Oscar needed to learn how to play other things. And I think Mirwin does as well if Mad want to have success with their potential new roster. 1.35 for Castle. Dealt a lot of damage with IMT in top lane. Zuan, 1.57. He went in and got after it. I mean, he had a lot of solo kills, I think, in those 15 games, if I recall. Don't obviously have it tracked because the LPL doesn't, but I do believe he did have quite a number of solo kills in LPL summer placements. Vision efficiency, I mean, Mirwin 3.1, Miley 3. I mean, it's nice to look at and consider, maybe Sniper left a little bit to be desired in the ward placing department as a young player. Castle, similar, 2.4. Frog, 2.5. The Antonio, 2.4. So that's a thing. Vision efficiency. Gold difference and XP difference. Most of these players behind at 15 minutes in gold. Actually, what? Only Thanatos wasn't. Thanatos was up 378 gold on average at 15 minutes in the LCS. So he was the one that was the exception. In XP, he was up 383, and then Mirwin was up 8. So otherwise, I mean, hell, Thanatos was the only one winning lane on average. Now, there are players that were within the realm of, okay, I mean, it's a rookie and they're not actually getting blown out in lane. That's pretty good. I mean, Perfect, only behind 150 on average. Clear, 92. Castle, 157. I mean, those three, you could say, Perfect, Clear, and Castle, they could still develop into some decent players in the laning phase for sure. I mean, they're rookies and they didn't get blown out. And in the end, that's kind of all you can hope for, especially because most of these teams were not very good. They were average at best, and only a couple found a way to get to Worlds, maybe just by winning summer playoffs and their season finals, and the majority of the season actually sucking. I mean, that's the reality of life. That's the reality of the situation. Solo kills per game, we had Clear getting about 1 every 3 games, as well as Mirwin. Sniper, 2 every 5 games, which is one of the higher ones on the board. Castle, 1 in 3 games. The Antonio, about 1 in 4. Thanatos, 1 in 4. So that's the thing. Lower end of things, Miley didn't get that many, neither did Frog, 0.17, 0.14. LCK top laners not really as susceptible to getting solo killed, I guess. Perfect, 0.22, but Clear found a way, so, I mean, think about it that way. Win rate. So, looking over here, only 3 players actually had a positive win rate this season in Tier 1. Perfect, 54%, Thanatos, 63%. And, Sheer 63, and actually Thanatos, both 63. So, those 3 players, positive KDAs. Even though Mirwin and Sniper went to Worlds, they actually come with a negative KDA. Not KDA, Jesus Christ, win rate, sorry. Mirwin, 45%, Sniper, 49%. Maybe if you take Worlds out of the equation, maybe they're at 50%. Mad Lions might still have been below 50-50 because they did go to the main event and then lose a few games as well. Play-ins, 100 Thieves kind of only lost, so they might have been above 50-50 if you take that out of the equation. But like Clear with Fear X, 37%. Yes, they made playoffs 1 time. Perfect. I mean, KT almost got to Worlds. They got very, very close. What else do we have here? Decade of Ultra Prime, 26% win rate in spring. Not a big shock. Ultra Prime sucked. Miley, 35%. Castle of Immortals, 24%. So the majority of these teams were not very good. Now you could say These are team stats. I'm not saying these are, like, win rate is not a player stat. It is a team stat. So it's almost like I wanted to, and I didn't have enough room on the board, and maybe I could have done this, but to look at win rate with player versus without player, because every player except Clear, I think only Clear, Mirwin, Sniper, and Castle on this board played all the games for their team this season. Everybody else were subbed in, replaced somebody, or were replaced. Because, like, Perfect, a couple games by casting. Sheer, sharing with Flandre. Decade, replaced by Harry. Miley, replaced Din Din. Thanatos, replaced Fudge. Juice, replaced Breathe. Frog, subbed in and out with Rascal. The Antonio replaced Otawamne. And Zuan replaced YSKM. So, or just subbed in for YSKM. So most of these players actually, I mean, you could look at the win rate without them and then actually maybe make, an inference. The team was better or worse in the win-loss column with this player in the lineup, but we also have to factor in, especially with the LPL players, that some replacements were not the same as summer season. Those games were not equal. I still think Fearless Draft, in my opinion, is glorified scrims. I mean, what somebody's trying to gain from Fearless would be just what you would try and gain from scrims to then go use at Worlds. Like, hey, I want to have more options composition wise. Okay, that's what you do in scrims. So if Worlds doesn't have Fearless in this format, then that's all we're doing is trying to get, some more practice on other things. And you're kind of forcing teams to try and do that. So that's a thing. But either way, these are the rookies. Comment on those, which ones you think were the best, which ones you think maybe are underrated or overrated. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.